for you.
I can't get to mine because, oh, good Lord. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Frank, I usually print out the agenda and I didn't. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is what?
Audience for staff and citizens.
Thank you. Audience for staff and citizens, and I don't have the picture of everybody anymore, so I'm not gonna know if you write. 1 minute, let me see. No, that won't do it. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, I don't have a
Dr. Ola,
picture.
if you stop sharing your screen, Rose might be able to see her screen unless you need to show us anything on from your screen.
There, I see people now. Thank you. That worked.
Okay,
Okay, audience for staff and citizen. Is there any staff or citizen who would like to make a comment? Okay,
No.
no? Okay, I'm gonna assume it's no. Yeah, I don't see anyone indicating. Okay, so we will move on to
correspondence.
correspondence to the board. Okay. Dr. Ola, do you have any correspondence to the
Well,
board?
I did, Dr. Ola, I did forward to all of you the correspondence from Team B, a follow-up email from Ms. Sancini concerning teams A and C, joining in with Team B to give everyone a set of opinions in terms of how to replace the playscape, and as well as some pictures of their Lego ideas that they created and that are displayed in the school's front area. That's the only piece of information that came directly to the board.
I thought that was a really good idea.
What part of it? You mean writing, having the students write to the board?
Having them engaged in that activity, getting input from them about how to use the space. I thought that was well done.
I agree, that was great. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I'd like to move on to the approval of the 12, 16, 20 minutes, but we can't because we don't have them. I don't know what to say. I don't know if that means that all of our motions are going to have to be redone in the future, but at this point, we just don't have the minutes. So let's move on to the superintendent's report.
Just Rose, Francola, just thinking that what I can do is review the recording of that meeting, and I will ask Lisa or someone in the school if they would like an extra pay to review that hour plus meeting and to make it into minutes. And I think that's the only other way. It'll come from an approved recording, so it should be pretty accurate, if that's acceptable.
Excuse
Yes,
me, it's Sally, and Mary texted me today and said that she does have the minutes, and once she is done battling an illness, she will send them to Rose.
Okay.
She didn't answer the phone when I called her, but I told her, just send me your notes and I'll do it. But if the problem is an illness, then she probably can't even do that. Okay, so
Rose?
Yes.
Juan
Juan?
Oriola, aren't we in non-compliance with public law?
We're in non-compliance with FOI,
Okay,
except that I believe we posted the Zoom meeting, haven't we, Frank?
We should have, yes.
Yeah, so the public has access to the recording.
but not the minutes, and we still don't have access to the minutes from the last meeting.
Tell me which meeting you mean by the last meeting.
The one we had in December.
Right, that's the one we're talking about now. We don't have access to the minutes.
Okay, so we're non-compliant. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think it's not an insignificant detail that the recording is posted. That covers our bases.
Yes, well, it certainly is helpful, that's for sure. Okay,
I will check, excuse me, I will check tomorrow to make sure that it is in fact posted. I did give our East Context the, what do you call it? The stick that has the minutes on it.
The
So
flash
I'm gonna
drive.
check tomorrow.
thank you, Frank.
Rose,
Yes, Juan?
one again. My concern is this: if you don't have a computer and can't get into Zoom, and you don't have access to the posted minutes, so to me, it's not fair to people who don't own computers and can't listen to the recording.
So Juan, we certainly didn't do this on purpose.
I understand that.
It has happened, and we're going to do our very best to fix it by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
Superintendent's report.
yes, please.
The superintendent's report, when I sent it out to all of you last Wednesday, when the draft should have been, the word draft should have been changed to the superintendent's budget report rather than the superintendent's draft budget report. This is the report that is the official report that I forwarded to all of you. It is a report that I tried to help based on your recommendations relative to my evaluation to be more precise in both the reports themselves and to give you insights in terms of, in this particular report, how a budget was made. And I tried to give that to you in terms of the transparency that we are trying to give you. And the report did have some assumptions in it. And the assumptions were that the COVID-19 issues would not be resolved as of July 1. So therefore, the draft budget is being budgeted as continuing the COVID issues, that i.e. with the teaming, the numbers of staff, the division of the school students into smaller groupings for their art classes and music classes, and that we have a student population of 76, which is one less than we have currently at 77, and that the draft budgets would be based on a continued special education costs with a special education placement that will return to our building. That's the assumption we are making. And the document is actually contained mostly, not just in my written document, but in Sally's report, which outlines the number of staffing, where they're going to be placed in this report. There is the normal 2-page document that is the budget. There is an expanded document, which is 5 pages, that gives you a breakdown of the sections of each budget section with all of its subcategories in it. So I am hoping that the explanation, which is now also part of the report that Sally gave you, that is a written explanation, not just numbers, it's written explanation of what each of those subcategories of the budget actually contain in English, so you can more easily understand it and have it compiled. So unless there is a question about my specific report and concerns about it, that is my superintendent's overview of the budget.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Susan.
Hi, Susan Love Green. Let me go back to it. Frank, the number of 76 students or this budget, is this just face-to-face students, or does this include, will we still be having home virtual students or distance learning students? So that's 76. Does that include the distance learners?
No, it includes, well, it includes distance learners in the sense that we have to supply them with an education. But the assumption is the COVID problem will be current as of, the first day of school in September. Therefore, parents will still have the right to keep their students home under distance learning.
Right.
So the assumption is the 76 is the same as we have now, which does not include all of those kids who are distance learning. These are the kids who are within the teams. So that's how you break down the team numbers. And then we have approximately 8 to 10, depending on the hour in the day, distance learning people. So the number of 76 is in-school students.
All right. Well, we want to make sure that we're still educating more then. I mean, the budget isn't for
Yeah, we
70
should have,
students. The budget is for all the students, right?
correct, right. The total student population within the building.
So, just, all right. Just make that kind of clear.
Yeah.
I don't want that number 76 get out there and then everyone just thinks that we're only educating 76 students.
Right.
Well, how many students are we educating?
Well, if you include the students that we have here, 2 outplaced at this point, plus 8, if I remember correctly, the number, that's the 10 students outplaced or on distance learning. So you really have 86 students.
So you are kind of putting in a group outplacement and distance learning kids?
Well, you asked me the total number of students. We have 2 outplaced, 8 distance learning, which gives you that extra 10. So that brings it up those 10.
I would like to suggest that the distance learning students are being taught by a teacher who is at the school.
Yes.
And they have access, of course. I don't know if they took advantage of the Chromebooks that we made available, but I would think that number should go in with our student number.
Yes.
So if
Yeah,
you said,
that clarification needs to be made in my next report. And
well, I would just up that number of students from 76, and I think you said there were 8 who are distance, so I would make that 84 as our student number.
plus the 2 who are special ed outplaced.
Okay. Okay, so 86 is our number.
Right.
But anyway, if I'm the only one having trouble with this, we'll just move on.
No, this is Mark Becker. I agree with Rose and Susan as well. I think this number should reflect every kid in each individual class, including those in school as well as those being educated outside the school.
I agree with you.
Learning.
I agree too.
Yeah, and I'll make that change.
Thank you.
It's just for transparency, for
I
accuracy.
agree. Absolutely.
I have
Oh,
a
yeah.
question.
Yes, Mary Ellen? Mary Ellen?
Mary Ellen, yeah. Frank, I think while you were going over your report, you said that somewhere there is a breakdown of teachers and paras, but I don't see it. Could you tell me where?
It's in Sally's report. If you look at Sally's report, it's proposed staffing levels. This
I
document,
don't see it.
I don't know if you can see it. See that document?
It's on the
I
budget
didn't know.
document.
It's in the, Sally's, that's in the budget packet, right?
Yes. It was the first
I
page.
downloaded everything. Yeah, I didn't print it out. I thought I downloaded everything sent.
I'll email it to you right after the meeting.
Thank you.
Or Sally, can you do that? You have
I
it.
can do that right now, actually.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, do we have
Thank
any
you.
questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the principal's report.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Um, I would like to share, well, first I would like to thank the Rec Commission and the community members for once again coming in to our building and sprucing up the holidays and surprising the kids. Everybody keeps talking about it. We were at a meeting last night and it came up again. And it's being encouraged to continue. And I think that both the students and the adults are enjoying that.
It needs to go in the refrigerator.
I also wanted to let people know that staff and I at our staff meetings are working on getting ready and preparing for assessments, the SBAC, and I might have mentioned this last time also. And our winter NWEA is coming up pretty quick. And we've decided as a group to take a really close look at our math program and look for areas that we can enhance the program and make it more fluid for the multi age groups. And I also wanted to acknowledge that Linda Sanchini has received a grant to do a multicultural Native American unit through Mohegan Nation Tribe. And that's to enhance curriculum and some virtual opportunities. So thank you, Linda, for agreeing to do that. We'll be hearing some more about that. I shared one of the topics that in my report that staff and are talking about for sort of internal professional development. And as usual, not a lot of outside things are happening. Our guidance counselor was able to attend 504 training to make sure that we're current with the laws about that, but Judy may speak to that also. So that's, unless there's any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
Okay, then we will move on to our, I'm doing this from memory. Our I'll tell you, Director of Special Education report.
Very good. Thank you, Chairman Bisson, and good evening, everyone. First, I would like to say I very much agree and support that the students who are outplaced be included. They are our students. We are legally responsible for their IEPs, and we have teams working with the teams where they are outside, knowing right from the beginning that our goal is to educate those students at Hampton Elementary School. So for instance, our speech pathologist is working very, very closely with the Speech Academy because speech is a big area. And then our counselor and special ed teacher and general ed teacher working very closely with another student. So I think if you're looking at money and resource allocation, someone said something about transparency, and it's very, very appropriate to include them. I will, I guess, briefly speak to the 504 training. I was able to participate yesterday and today in that training, and I haven't in years, and it was excellent. Enough so that Perry Zerkel mentioned Hampton and Scotland and our name. And there were only 3 towns named, and we were 2 of the 3. So, you know, it really was excellent. And there's a lot of good information, not just about 504, but really how it works with general ed. You know, 504, of course, special ed, and what he calls 252, half of 504, which is just really excellent teaching, and solid tier 1 programming. So I think, you know, that's exciting that we have that information. We can do a lot of work. And then I I want to share a story with you. I'm very much a data person, but this is a very important story. And I asked the parents' permission to share it, and she granted permission. I'm not going to share the name of the student, but we had a PPT today for a student who's relatively new to our school. The student is in grades 5 or 6. And the parent was sharing how well this student was doing overall. And this student, excuse me, had been in multiple schools. And we talked about it. And, you know, it's the small schools. The student checks in with Principal Roberson, you know, that there's that kind of connection about attendance, and works with the special ed teacher and the general ed teacher and the counselors and, you know, the support staff, the paraprofessionals. And it was really, it was a model meeting. It really could have been recorded in the students' progress, and there's still work to do, but it really could be a model. And I think it's an example of the kind of programming that Hampton really is doing. It's very personalized. And Mary Ellen, I think, was at a meeting with me maybe 2 months ago or 1 month ago, where EastCon was naming districts that had great initiatives such as personalized learning, and Hampton's name came up. And I shared that only because I think everybody knows I'm a data person. I'm a numbers person. I look at the performance of international student achievement. So it's not just America. And, you know, there was a question at the last meeting, and I always welcome questions or comments or concerns, you know, about kind of the quality. Are we getting our bang for our buck? And we most certainly and assuredly are. And, you know, I had a chance to, just because I'm working in the region where I live, on a committee where we are trying to do cost savings. And I'm on that committee. It's actually meeting tonight. But, you know, when I look back, Hampton, we've been pretty much frozen with our budgets, or even in some cases reduced. And I share that only because it's not a complaint. I'm just so impressed with the leadership of the board, the superintendent, the principal, the teachers, the parents, everyone, to really be getting such a bang for the buck, or such a, you know, quality kind of return. And you know, and I'm sure because of us freezing, we have our number has gone down, I am certain, in the per pupil spending. So I just wanted to share that, just from a little bit of a different perspective. And the parents said, please, please do share that, because, you know, and she gave more examples, but I prefer not to do that because I don't want to give away personally identifiable information. So that, any questions or?
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, yes. Well, it's important. And there are
Yes, thank
several
you.
of us who are educators through and through. This is what we do for fun, and we eat, drink, sleep it. And, you know, and we have such a treasure and such a valuable school. It certainly deserves to be recognized and pointed out.
I have a question.
Sure.
Judy, you mentioned you went to a 504 training.
Yes.
Who put the training on?
It was Perry Zerkel. He's from Pennsylvania, and he's the 504 kind of guru or expert, and it was put on through CERC.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but he, Mary Ellen, they are doing a training in the spring. And what I like about him is he's so kid-centered and heart-centered, but he's an attorney. So he's super pragmatic. And you don't just go and get the laws cited at you, you get kind of solutions to help kids and families. And that's what I took away from it. I have a special ed background, a general ed background, and what he was saying would help everyone, So I recommend, if the board, if there's a spring screening, maybe we could watch it together in the library if people had time or something. Or the
Thank you.
media center.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to our business coordinators report.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I went to see about forwarding that page to Mary Ellen. It looks like it did not go to anyone. So I just sent out that first page to the board that does show the staffing levels, which are the same as current.
Thank you.
You didn't have it, Mary Ellen, because it looks like it didn't go out. And in addition to my report that I sent out, it does look like we're going to be getting a second round of ESSER funds. So those should be made available soon. We heard today that they should be about twice as much as the first round. So that would be around 27,000, hopefully, to offset our COVID expenses.
Great. Does anyone have any questions? I assume they'll come up in the budget discussion. Okay, thank you, Sally. We'll move on to discussion and action on the appointment of Rachel Porter as a certified elementary teacher.
I believe Rachel is on this Zoom meeting. Rachel, where are you? I do see you, Rachel.
I see her. Hi,
I'm
Rachel.
here. Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
Rachel is our new elementary classroom teacher. She's currently assigned to the kindergarten position. I think she has a master's degree from St. Joe's. She has a bachelor's degree from Albertus, which is my wife's alma mater. So we have something common there, or at least.
Albertus Magnus?
Yes, Albertus Magnus. So she has already started. She's being paid as a substitute at this point until you affirm, or not affirm, but hopefully you will affirm her hiring. So I would like Rachel to just give you a little background that other than what I sent all her paperwork to you for your review, her resume and her letter of application and so forth. So Rachel, if Rose, is it all right for Rachel to tell us a little bit about herself?
Well, I really can't say no now, can I?
No, I know. I set you up on that one. Sorry.
It's okay. Rachel, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you for having me. So like Dr. Ola said, I graduated from St. Joe's in 2019 with my master's in early childhood education and special education. My certification is Connecticut Cert 113, which allows me to teach nursery up to 3rd grade with a special ed endorsement for pre-KK. Prior to beginning at Hampton last week, I worked in Manchester Public Schools as the special education integrated preschool teacher, where I gained all my experience in lesson planning, differentiation, IEPs, PPTs, everything you can possibly imagine. And while I was in school, I was a long-term building sub in Plainville, where I worked in pre-K up through 5th grade. So I kind of have experienced all grade levels in the past few years, which has been really helpful.
Great. So I would love to hear your I don't want to phrase it wrong. I'd love to hear your opinion on multi-age grouping within a classroom.
Yeah. So I knew going into Hampton that they had team A, team B, team C, and that they were multi-aged classrooms. And I look at that situation as more of multi-abilities as opposed to multi-age, because you really don't know where your students are at. So in my kindergarten room, I might have 4-year-olds in the beginning of the year. I might have 5-year-olds towards the end of the year. I might have 6-year-olds, but it's all the range of abilities that's important. So at that point, it's just differentiating and modifying the curriculum to best fit the needs of my students, and doing it in different modalities and in different ways that will help them. So the same would go in 1st and 2nd grade, 3rd and 4th grade, et cetera.
Great. And you understand that it's possible in the future, if you remain at Hampton, that you could be placed as the teacher in a classroom with more than one grade level student?
Absolutely.
Great. Does anyone else have any other questions?
No, this is Anne. I would just like to say welcome and thank you for.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Susan. I'd like to say welcome and thank you as well.
Thank you.
Mark Becker. Rachel, now that you've been there for a little bit of time, what is your perspective like for Hampton compared to Manchester, like the small age groups? Do you think there's advantages with that, or is that more of a challenge, or is it a little bit of a blessing, or somewhere in the middle?
Coming from Manchester, it's absolutely a blessing. I really do thrive on the small community, small classroom structure. I learned that when I was in Plainville. And that's something I really struggled with while I was in Manchester. So coming to Hampton, my classroom is very small, but that has allowed me the opportunity to really get to know them already and really start planning my lessons based on what I learned about them in such a short time. So it's been a benefit for sure.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
Any other-
this is Neil Moon. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
I'm trying to remember reading over what your major was, and you also offered some different things as far as teaching. Could you just go over what your background is, credentials?
Yeah, so I received my bachelor's degree back in 2010. And then I took a long time off from school, and I experienced different areas of education and other positions during that time. In 2017, I made the decision to go get my master's. And that's when I started working in Plainville as the building sub. During that time, I was long-term 2nd grade, long-term 3rd grade, long-term library media specialist, where I worked with all the grades. So I really I got a feel for everything. And then once I graduated, I started in Manchester as the special education preschool teacher.
Great. Any other questions?
Well, I do have a question.
Great.
I would guess, Rachel, since you've been working in the past few months, that you have some experience with different modes and different models in terms of COVID response. Could you comment on that briefly, please?
Sure. In Manchester, we did go back for the beginning of the year. We did go back full-time in person, with the exception of my Wednesdays. My Wednesdays were done remotely. So I would do in person Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We use Seesaw. We've used Google Classroom, Google Meets. I found and discovered different other programs to do with my students online. So I do have experience with the somewhat hybrid model, and also, of course, last spring with a full remote model as well, and all the precautions in person that I had to take for most of the year.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Any more questions? Well, hearing none, I will entertain. I'm sorry.
I have a
Mary Ellen.
question.
Yes.
I have a question to the board. I think we've been in this situation before, and I wanted to ask if we are able to hire at the teacher rate retroactively.
Are you asking the board or are you asking me or Sally?
I think I think we've been in this situation and I quite a while ago, and I don't remember what the answer is. Are we able to offer the teacher pay retroactively to when Rachel started as a long-term, as a sub?
We have done
So I'm
that.
asking, I guess, the board and you.
We have done that in the past.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to assume, Mary Ellen, that you're going to make the motion to appoint, a minute, I want to get this
Rachel
right.
Porter.
To appoint Rachel Porter as an elementary teacher in Hampton. I don't know what date to start it at.
June 19th, January 19th.
June, I'd go, wow. Beginning January 19th, 2021. Is that the
Thank
motion?
you, Rose.
make?
That
Thank
is
you.
exactly the motion.
That. This is
Okay,
Anne,
thank you.
seconded.
Anne seconded, thank you. Any
Do you want-
discussion?
Excuse me, do you want to put the step in there?
I don't believe we were told this step.
Frank, did you have a recommendation?
I believe she has 1 year of service in Manchester. And so therefore she would be on step 2 masters.
I'll
So-
amend my motion to include that.
And I'll amend my second to include that.
And I'll discuss. So when was the 1 year in Manchester?
I was in Manchester from July of 2019 up until January 15th of this past year, like this year.
Okay. That's enough discussion for me. Anyone else feel the need to discuss anything? I will call the roll then for the vote, and I'm going to do you again in the order you're appearing on my computer screen. So that would be Russ. Are you voting for the motion?
Yes.
And Neil
Yes.
and Anne
Yes,
and Mary Ellen
Yes,
and Mark
Yes.
and Susan
Yes,
and Juan.
No,
Okay, the motion carries.
Matt?
I'm sorry, did I leave someone out?
Yeah,
you
Matthew
miss
Flager
Matt?
votes yes.
Matthew, I'm sorry. And you vote yes. Okay, the motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1.
Welcome aboard, Rachel.
Yes, welcome, Rachel.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome to stay for the meeting, but we'll certainly understand if you don't.
Okay.
Okay, we will move on to discussion and action on the proposed rate for substitutes and paraprofessional pay scale.
I would think that we table this discussion for now, Rose. I don't think we're ready to discuss this yet.
I know we're not ready to discuss the para pay scale, but you think we're not ready for the subs
Oh.
either?
No, I take that back. You're right.
Okay. So I'm not ready enough to do the presentation. Is there someone who would like to do the presentation?
Sally?
I think I can do that. Just give me 1 second. So the proposals were increasing $1 an hour for the subs for the next 3 years, 2021, 22, 23. And those $1 increases were for the Paraprofessional subs, teacher subs, executive secretary sub, nurse sub, and custodian substitute.
Just remember,
Okay.
they're all based, Francola, they're all based on the requirement, excuse me, from the state of Connecticut that we raise every year the hourly rate so that those people can in fact be part of the appropriate funding by the hour, if that makes sense to you. Is this screen being shared right now?
It is, and
Yes.
it took away everything else I had, so now I don't know what to do.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'll get rid of it real quickly, just so you see what Sally and I developed on January 12th. These are the minimum wage changes that are on top by the dates. And this happens to be the superintendent's recommendations. Let me see if I can find the pay rates for the substitute on this document. It goes to here we go. These are the minimum wage. September 1st is $12 an hour without a bachelor's degree, $13.50 an hour with a BA degree.
Excuse me, Frank, I think you're presenting the one for the current year, and I think we're supposed to talk about next year.
Keep rolling.
Yeah, keep going
Keep
down.
bringing it up.
Yeah,
It's the next page.
right. Custodian sub is 13, school nurse is 25.50.
No,
And then
There we go. There we go.
now you got this one.
stop. Yeah, that's the one
Now
we
it
need.
goes to 13 for next year. Okay, and so instead of 12, it's now 13, then 14.50. Custodian is now $14 and $24.50 for the school nurse. And the school nurse, if we need a school nurse, there's no one who will come in at that rate. But that's another discussion. That's what we're proposing at this point. School nurses are so different.
You have to keep going because that's only this 1 year. We have a 3-year proposal, you said.
Right.
Okay.
So here you go. You ready?
This is 22.
All right. So it goes to $14, and that's where you go with your paraprofessionals. Okay. This is without a BA, with minimum of a BA, custodian, school nurse, and then 2023 is $15 an hour is required. So the executive secretary is a bachelor's degree, 15, paraprofessionals, 16.50. I'm sorry, the paraprofessional without a bachelor's degree is 15. Paraprofessional with a minimum of a BA is 16.50, custodian 16, and school nurse. And that's the range that you're looking at through 24. So
I suspect whatever we end up doing tonight, if the feds go to a $15 per hour minimum, we're going to be redoing
this anyway.
next year's anyway.
I just
Yeah.
noticed the typo. It for 2023, it's July 1, not June 1.
Okay.
Everything is July. You see.
Is this Anne speaking? Is it possible to include a footnote that says specific amounts subject to revision based on current practices?
Well, I don't understand what that means.
Well, if there's an executive order or, there's some
Well,
ruling,
then we'll have to revisit it ourselves, I think.
right?
Yeah.
So it won't make any difference to state that.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, Frank, could you go back to get rid of the screen for us again?
Yeah, stop the share.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't see anything. Okay, great. Thank you. I
Rose,
have to. Yeah. Was that
this is-
Sally?
it is Sally. Is it okay if I clarify something on there?
Of course. Just don't go back to the screen.
The dates on there are correct, and they are, the last one is June 1st, 2023. That's when the state's new wage goes into effect. So those dates are correct.
Okay, so
Okay.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
It's
Susan?
May I ask a question? I'm just noticing, what is minimum wage supposed to be proposed to take effect on June 1st, 2023? Is it $14 or $15 when we get to the end there?
15.
Okay. I noticed that it's not a big deal, but on that last page of your proposal, where it says Hampton Board of Education substitute pay rates proposed effective June 1, 2023. Underneath it says minimum wage $14 per hour effective June 1, 2023. So
That is a typo.
yeah, it's not a big deal, but someone might question why, if it's minimum wage is 14, why is the paraprofessional starting off at 15? So just wanted, that's all, just to fix that.
Thank you, Susan.
My pleasure.
Any further discussion? I was remiss. We really should have had a motion before discussion, but I didn't do it. So would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, looking at the agenda, I don't know how you'll phrase it.
Hold on, let me pop the agenda up. I got it right here. We are looking to discuss or to
approve.
But we're just doing the subs. We're not doing the paras,
We're
correct?
just doing the subs, yeah.
Okay, so I have the agenda in front of me. I move that we approve the substitute. Hold on, let me move my next document. The substitute
Pay scale.
pay scale, thank you, for the next till June 1st, 2023. What's the date on that? Do you need the dates?
Well, I think it's until July 1, 2024. Because
July 31st, 2024. Right? June, oh
July
no,
31st.
June 30th.
So
Yeah.
the rate will be indexed on January 1st, 2024.
okay.
So
Got
these
it.
could take us through January 1st, 2024.
Do I need to repeat that or?
Matthew, do you need?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the end date we're going with. I would have just said propose the or approves the proposed pay scale.
As presented.
As
So
presented?
We'll
Unless we want
add-
an end date, but it sounds like we might have to revisit this in a year or so anyway, so.
We do, but in the meantime, just in case we don't, we should have an end date. So I believe Sally said January 1, 2024.
Yes.
All right, we got it.
Okay, would you like
Right.
to read? Yes, Mary Ellen?
Can we just say rates, which is what the documents say, not scales, because they're not a scale, they're a wage or a rate.
Yeah, it is a rate. There's. Okay, we'll change that to rate. And does that mean you want to make the motion?
No,
thought
I think
Susan made the
Susan's
motion.
is fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. We had the motion. I'm sorry. So who made the motion?
I did.
Do you mind the change that Mary Ellen suggested?
No, not at all. I welcome it.
Who seconded? No one will admit to seconding?
I'll second it.
So nobody
Okay,
has yet. All right, thanks.
And
okay, great.
Rose, this is Juan. Can we restate that motion?
Of course. Matthew, will you read the motion back to us?
As I have Susan Lovegreen motion to approve the substitute pay rates through January 1st, 2024 as presented. Seconded by Ann Grunberg.
Okay, Juan?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I will call the motion. We'll start with Russ.
Yes.
Yes. And Neil
Yes.
and Anne
Yes.
and Mary Ellen
Yes.
and Mark
Abstain.
abstain. Oh, yes, Mark has to abstain. And Susan
Yes.
and Juan
Yes.
and Matthew.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries unanimously. And now we'll move on to discussion and recommendation concerning policy 5145.44 / 4000.3 students first reading. So does that mean, Anne, that you will be presenting this to us?
I can do that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, so you have it on your agenda. Does the agenda list the name of the policy?
I read the agenda to, oh, not again, Frank.
I have it open in front of me.
Title IX?
It just,
I'll have it. It's personnel, yeah, Title IX, it says.
Title IX, okay, because the personnel and students are generic titles, headings. So we were reviewing our required policies and also the policies that have been recommended based on the pandemic. And we wanted to expedite this as much as possible. So you should have received midweek last week a copy of the number that Rose just read to you on the Title IX updates. Title IX has been around for a long time. It's an anti-discrimination law, and we're required to update it on a regular basis. And it's been, I believe, since 2016 that we've done a routine update. So the document that you should have received includes some of the updates. I wouldn't say that it's substantially different from previous policies, but what is different in terms of what you have received is that it includes definitions, and it includes more detail and specificity for the reader, which I think it's sort of counterintuitive, but I think for a very small district, it actually helps in this case to have more detail rather than less detail, because we don't have a Department of Human Resources, and we are a small program, so the policy that provides more guidance in this case may be more useful to us. But we were wanting to present it. You did receive it before the meeting, so if you want us to approve it, we're okay with that, but at the very least, we'd like to present it at this meeting. So we're open to your thoughts.
You're meaning the whole board?
Well, right, that if people are okay with voting on it. I mean, this is an existing policy. We're not introducing something new. We're just introducing the updates that are required.
Okay, Frank, would you do me a favor and stop sharing?
Sure.
There, thank you. It doesn't allow me to see when you share it, my whole computer goes away. I have to learn how to not let that happen. Okay. Board members. Do you have thoughts on whether we should, on what we should do next? Do you want to vote on it, or do you want time to look at it and think about it?
I would say I'm still of the old school, present 1 month, vote the second month. And I do want to say that if it's on next month's agenda, the second number should be 4,000.1 instead of 3.
Thank you. Yeah, I have to admit, I'm just as happy not changing the process.
That's fine. We
Okay.
did want to give you the opportunity to look at it, so that's why we sent it out. But we're, we understand that the board, may want to be, have the continuity and the consistency of protocol.
So when you say we, who are you referring to?
We as the committee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so
Okay, so consider it presented. The other thing that we discussed, if you're okay with that, because we're not taking action on this,
right, you presented it.
we presented it, and we would like to see it on the agenda for approval next month.
So
The other
noted.
thing, I'm sorry.
So noted.
Okay. And we did review other pandemic-related policies. And particular, we had voted a few months ago on a policy statement. And we're going to be providing a number to make that an actual, like to have that be meeting the structure so that it could actually appear in our policy manual. But the board did vote on suspending policies based on the pandemic. So we've already taken care of that business. We're not recommending any changes, just an additional number. And the other pandemic related policies, for the most part, are not required policies. They're recommended policies. And being a very small school and hoping that we're not going to be living with the pandemic forevermore, it did not make sense to introduce like more unrequired policies, but it's helpful to have those as guidance if we need them and reference points. So it's important for us to be aware that there's a variety of policies that are available to us if we so chose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're not recommending those policies that are available. You're just telling us they're there.
Well, I think if we had a compelling reason to make a policy change to adopt, but we've been addressing the issue. Our policy statement over, a few months ago actually did address these issues pretty comprehensively. So.
Okay, great. Thanks. Does
Thank you.
anyone have any questions? Hearing none, we will move on to discussion and recommendation concerning the formation of a Board of Ed subcommittee to develop an evaluation tool for the superintendent. I requested this item because when we were working on the superintendent evaluation, Juan made a statement about what he believes should be in the superintendent's evaluation. And I thought that perhaps we should have a subcommittee and perhaps Juan would like to be on it. I do want to say ahead of time up front that state law requires the superintendent to be involved in the development of the superintendent evaluation. So do people think we need a committee? Should we start with Juan? Do you think we need a committee?
Yes, and I'm on board.
And you're on board. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to be on that? My goodness, I think we're going to find board members who have been on the board a while are going to be thinking, but we really kind of just did this. But if no one else would like to be on it, Perhaps Juan and I will be on it.
Yeah, this is Anne speaking. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
The only reason I'm not volunteering is because, yes, I'm there, it's somewhat familiar, but also I'm currently on the Head Start Policy Council, and they're doing an assessment, a community assessment, and I've been involved with that. So it just feels like I don't want to overextend.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, but we'll have the committee. I will make appointments and send that out. Within about a week, I think. Okay, let's move on to discussion and recommendation concerning the HES curricula's placement on the HEA website. I think it's the HES website. So I unless someone else wants to talk, I'll say what I think this is. We've been talking about, the board would like to see the curriculum. And we heard that it was many pages long. But when I thought about it, and I will admit, let me see. I've been in education for 40 years now, and I learned about curriculum development 40 years ago. But to me, curriculum is what you teach. So it's what are the concepts, or what exactly will you teach at each grade? How you will teach is the lesson plan. And I think there was some confusion because especially with the state becoming more and more involved in exactly what we'll teach, and the teachers in service was around developing the lesson plans, and somehow developing the lesson plans for the curriculum got all mushed together. So I think what this is about is on the school's website is the what will we teach. And I believe that's up there for language arts and math. Is that true?
It's on the opening page of our website in the upper right-hand corner, the standards that we follow in order to teach the pre-K through 6th grade.
And is it for what subjects?
All of, let's see, English language arts, math. I'm concerned, I'm not sure it's with science, social studies, PE, music, and art. Sam, is that
Wow.
correct?
Yes, and science is there too.
Okay, I didn't know if the new standards were included in that. So yes, all of our curricula are on that opening page of the website. Inside, under the Board of Education, there's another click that is the HES curriculum, and basically that is the English language arts, and that's the multi-page volumes that I have in my office that are on the counter for people to review. But it's more, as Rose described it, more the lesson planning or the ideas of how to implement what needs to be taught. So you have both the general statements and the specifics that are have been developed through EastCon's assistance at HES.
Great. Does anyone have any questions? I'm glad we now have access, though, to knowing what is taught. Thank you for doing that. Okay, on to discussion and recommendations concerning the draft 2021-2022 HES budget.
I do want to thank Dr. Ola, Mark Becker. I appreciate your report. I thought it was very thorough and a lot of thought went into describing the different elements of what's in your hands and what's kind of not in your hands as far as what you can update. So, and Sally provided a really good summary too, as well in her this page where it kind of goes line by line and some of the things that went into it. So I appreciate both your efforts.
Thank you, Mark. I agree. Does anyone have any questions about the budget?
It's not a question, Anne. It's a comment.
Okay,
Given everything that's going on in the universe, I am encouraged that this momentum is there. And thank you to the team.
this momentum, I'm not sure what you mean.
I mean that the process of developing and presenting a budget is pretty much spot on in terms of time.
Yeah. That is great. Yes, Mark?
We talked about this a little bit the other night at the F&O meeting, but for the substitute lines, I was just wondering, like, why under special, like on the extended budget, maybe the bottom line budget, it didn't really change much. We moved a good amount of additional substitute pay into the special education area. And maybe we're just moving it around. But I didn't know if there was a reason we thought it was going to greatly increase next year.
Mark, I can answer that. All of our paras are special ed paras. So I looked at the past few years and the trends, and knowing that all our paras are special ed, that's how we made the decision of where to put that money. We really looked at the trends that we've been having and our level of staffing. So the majority of our employees are in special education.
Okay. And it looks like you just moved it around because the overall substitute line didn't really grow. It was just that one area. So.
Right. So we actually reduced the number of days with our declining staff and just reallocated it in a better way.
And
can I just ask?
Depending on whether you use the expanded budget or the draft budget, the 2-pager, all substitutes are in one area, which is salary and wages, as compared to the expanded budget that has, if it's a regular education, pre-kindergarten or special ed substitutes. So they're broken out, but I'm not sure which is easier for you to look at in terms of that specific question.
Could you get closer to your mic, please?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I could hear you, but just barely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, you had more questions?
And I think we covered this too, but the housekeeping services. So again, you were saying that you just, based on what we're paying them the rest of this year, we basically just use that weekly or monthly fee and just did it over the full year for next year. And that's why it's like double.
Yes, we have a new company. We did get several quotes, and this was the best quote we received. And we're assuming that we'll be using them again next year. They're doing a great job.
I do agree. They're doing a lot better job. So.
Don't we need to do bids though before we say we're going to be using someone? I understand we can use the figures, but I think before we say who we're going to use, we're supposed to do bids. Unless it's an emergency.
Right, so it was an emergency, and I guess if you want us to go out to bid, we could. Once we have a contract, we typically renew it. We don't go out to bid every year.
Yes, but we never did go out to bid with this group. So I think it might be a good idea to go out to bid.
I would agree. That would be following our policies.
Yeah, it would, but we don't have to, I mean, all I'm asking that we do is we don't say who we're going to have, just use the cost from our current costs and worry about the bid later. Did you want to say something, Dr. Ola?
That's fine. I understand what you're saying, and we'll look into that. I think the fact that they are in fact doing all of the sanitizing, that remember, part of the extra costs have to do with the extra time that's required every day to do the full sanitizing of the school using the machine that we have that does all the bathrooms, and all the public, like the water fountains and all those other kinds of high touch areas. That whole front hallway where people come in and look through the little window into the office to get their temperature taken. All that stuff is sanitized every evening, so it does take more time. So part of the increase of this bid was the fact that they actually are sanitizing compared to the other program that was not only not cleaning well, we literally fired them. They weren't sanitizing. In fact, the machine had to be completely cleaned out when the new cleaning company came in because they never removed any of the sanitizing agents or anything. So the competency of this group is much higher than the one we had before. Unfortunately, you get, in a certain sense, you get what you pay for. And this also includes some summer work that these people will come in over the summer because we have to do some work in the summer. We've always hired summer workers to come in and help Andy with the cleaning and the waxing and all that stuff. And that used to be on a different line. This is now all on one line item because the same company is willing to do that kind of effort also. Did I miss anything, Sally?
No, I don't think you missed anything. But a small correction is the summer help was always on the same line.
Oh, as housekeeping?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, I have a question. Our enrollment is down in preschool. And I know a lot of that has to do with COVID. What is our capacity in that room with the teacher that we have should things ease up and more children come in? I know that Sam's report says that we don't have any students waiting, but what is our capacity in that room in case it
Sam?
picks up?
I thought it was 18 to 20.
That's it. It's 18 to 20. That's no COVID. But with the COVID and the spacing, we could do like 9.
Well, we already have 10. So 9 more or
No,
what's?
no. We had 10, but we had one student move out, so we are back down to 9, but they were still in when I wrote the report.
Okay.
Mark Becker, right?
Yes, Mike.
I believe last year or whenever that was that we had over 15 or 16, there was we had to break it up because there wasn't enough room in the cots for all the kids for nap time. So I believe we had a breakout group. So I don't think you could fit 18 in there without having some plan for the afternoon.
That's right.
Okay, it's in bridge we don't have to cross. I just was curious if that was a potential area of a problem. I have another question.
Yes,
I'd like to see what the budget would look like if we gave cost of living, which is 1.3% rather than the 1%. And I wondered why one was chosen
For the
instead
salary,
of going,
for salary increases, you mean?
yeah, Frank, would you move
right,
closer
it doesn't
to
match
your-
social security.
I'm sorry, for salary increases, are you speaking of the 1%?
Yes, it doesn't match social security.
We didn't look at social security. We just picked 1% as what we thought would be the most appropriate based on what we felt was really COVID influenced, I guess is the way to say it.
So Mary Ellen, you're requesting that we see what the budget looks like if we go 1.3%?
Yes, please.
Yep, we can certainly do that.
Yep.
Mark?
Sorry, Mark Becker again. I forgot at the F&O meeting the other night, we also discussed the potential to have the nurse go up to 2%, based on the amount of effort she's been putting in to support both the town and the school. So that was something that we kind of agreed that we could look at as well. And I did have a follow-on question too. Do we have any information from the state at all about what they're going to reduce this year for ECS allocations to the town?
I have not seen anything about ECS yet. I
So,
don't know. I don't know if the town has seen something or you, Frank, but I have not seen anything yet.
None
so
of us in
this is-
Ursa have seen it.
Who?
I'm sorry. The East Cons Ursa, you know, the University Region Superintendent Association. We speak every Monday.
And no one's seen it.
No one knows what it would be.
So this brings me around to, it's a little out of sequence, but announcing that, I mean, you probably saw the invitation to the legislative breakfast for Area 3.
Why don't you wait until the CABE report?
Okay.
Thanks. Any more budget questions? I will admit, I'm not feeling ready to approve the budget yet. I mean, do people agree with me or what?
It was,
I'm getting some nodding heads.
yeah, I didn't, Anne speaking, I wasn't expecting to have a product that could be voted on tonight. This is
Okay.
a draft. That was my understanding.
It will remain a draft until it is voted on. Yeah.
Right, but it seemed early for voting.
Okay, Mark?
So I'm going to be the unpopular one, I think, and maybe bring this up, but I think we need to approach the bus company to understand within our contract what happens if we do want to investigate going down to down a bus. I would imagine we want to do maybe a study about route times, as well as given our current contract, if that's even feasible. But I think we should investigate that because I'm actually very much of an advocate not to base a lot of budget changes or drastic changes based on this year's numbers. I don't think that's fair in the pandemic to assume that the numbers we're dealing with right now are the numbers we're going to continue to deal with. And so it pains me to even say that we got to look at this, but I think it's something that's going to be brought up. And if we don't have our homework done and know the facts, it's just not going to help us. So I think we need to know some facts on that so that we can make an intelligent decision on what we'd like to do. And obviously that would play into the budget potentially. So.
Okay, Dr. Ola, can you do that?
Of course.
Thank you.
Rose, Juan, uh,
Yes,
I, I support what Mark just said. I think we need to look into that. Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, when you say look into it, are you talking just, can we break the contract? Or are you talking about looking at the whole thing again of ridership, time and all of that?
There would be no need to break the contract. So I think we're looking into ridership and routes.
Okay. Okay,
But
thank you.
I believe the last time we did a contract, we asked that there be a clause that we could reduce a bus if we needed to.
Okay,
I believe that's in there.
thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, then we will move on to committee and liaison.
Excuse me,
Yes,
Frank. I just want to summarize. What you're asking for the February meeting is to produce the cost of a 2% nurse raise, a 1.3% general raise instead of the 1%, and a reduction, if possible, of one bus based on ridership and the resultant cost reduction. Is that right? Those are the three items you would like to see explained for the next budget?
I think we'd want to know what the bus routes would be, an estimate, if we went down a bus.
Timing, for timing. Yeah.
Timing and the numbers of students on each bus.
Okay.
Does everyone else agree that Frank summed it up correctly?
I think
Hearing
so.
no
I think
Yes.
another thing that we could look at too is maybe the possibility of a minibus rather than these buses, the large buses, because there's some of the buses only have 10 kids or 12 kids. So
We've looked
I don't
into
know.
that. We've looked into that in the past, and oddly enough, it wouldn't save much money. And the bus company, we were with a different bus company, but they would have had to buy mini buses for us. So it actually would have put our rates up.
I do know that EastCon has a lot of minibuses sitting in their
Just sitting
lot.
around?
So, yeah.
Okay,
Ask that question.
okay, thanks.
I think, I don't want to belabor, but I think the other issue is, I think Dr. Ola's brought it up before. I think we need to have allocations, enough seats for even if kids are being brought in. So we might need 2 full-size buses after you're done with COVID separation, just to be able to do, like, just thinking out loud, if you have only 2 buses and 80 kids, you'd have to have 40 kids per bus theoretically if every single person was riding the bus, or if we need to allocate for every kid riding the bus. I don't know, just something else. The bus company will let us know that.
Neil, weren't we talking last time we were discussing this, that it all has to do with the high school bus too? I mean, because we share buses, so we couldn't do that?
The high school population hasn't hasn't seen any reduction. We still send, Sally, help me, 52, 53 kids to Parish Hill? Sally?
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking. I don't know off the top of my head.
We'll
But
get that
52
number to you in the
I
chat.
think 52 sounds right. I do have it, but not right in front of me. So I can add that next time also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, then we'll move on to committee and liaison reports. Communications?
Nothing. We're gonna have a meeting eventually. Once I figure out a date, I can get everyone together.
Okay,
And I want to say Hampton sends around 57 kids to Parish Hill, or
Thank you.
it may be a little less, but it's right around 55.
Thanks, Matt.
Rose, may I speak before we go on? This is Juan.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Thank you. I've been on the board for 15 months. And in that time, we've had 2 meetings, with the communications department, and meetings for the most part have been non-existent. And we just had a teacher retire and the community really didn't know anything about it because nothing was sent out to the community. So I'm disappointed that communication doesn't do more. I don't want to be chair, but I'd like to see more communication between us and the community. And I think it'd be good PR for everybody involved. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Juan. Yeah, I'll try to be better and try to have more regular meetings for sure.
I would just like to say, I don't believe we had a teacher retire. Am I wrong, Dr. Ola?
You're correct. She did not retire.
Yeah, we did not have a teacher retire, Juan. I just don't want incorrect information at the public meeting.
No, I just meant that we lost a teacher, but actually we didn't actually give any information to the public. And I'm sure some of the parents would have liked to have acknowledged her publicly for all the years of service that she's given the Board of Education and the town and the school. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I'm not sure, this is Anne, I'm not sure what that was about. Like what teacher?
we had a teacher who resigned in December, which is why we just hired another teacher tonight.
Okay, so we're not getting information about who that was.
Well, sure, it was,
Mel,
Mary Ellen Kenya.
Mary Ellen,
thank you. Her name?
Okay,
Yeah,
the kindergarten teacher.
correct.
yes.
And I think I knew that, I just wasn't connecting the dots.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because there was another hire toward the holidays. Right, there was somebody else who was hired, who has a background.
A paraprofessional.
Oh, okay. Thank you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak out.
Okay, we're gonna move on to finance and operations.
Did you want to talk to Hampton Scotland Joint Committee? It was on the
Oh,
agenda too.
yes, I did. We didn't meet. We were going to meet and the meeting didn't get posted. I'm gonna guess it didn't get posted in Hampton because our town hall isn't open on Wednesdays. So hopefully we will have met by next time. So now we can go on to, yeah, finance and operation.
So we did meet on Monday. Actually, quite a few things going on. Mary Ellen's been digging in and helping out, trying to figure out how we can replace some lights and get funding for that. We working on that. The back playground, the wooden playscape has been removed based on the request from Team B. So now I've been in communication with them, and I think all the different teams are teaming up, let's say, and trying to come up with some designs that will factor into what we can do going forward. This spring we'll be getting some more quotes for finishing up the parking lot out in the front. And I think that might be it. Was there any other projects we're working on, Mary Ellen? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, kudos to the PTO that are buying some playground toys or equipment,
yeah,
small
yep.
things, because the playground is gone. And also that Dr. Ola's figuring out about the mixer valve and the hot water
Great. Yep.
tank.
We have some
Right.
domestic hot water corrections or
Repairs.
fixes going on. Yep. That's it from us.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, I did want to, can I just say thank you to Alan? Alan, thank you for working with us and getting the road crew to clean up that mess. It was very appreciated.
Okay, on to policies.
The policy committee met, and I think I've shared information with the board already.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ad hoc job description subcommittee.
Was CABE on the list too?
It's on the list next. We just have this one last thing to do before we get to CABE.
Okay.
And the job description committee hasn't met, and I want to say it has everything to do with COVID. But I know there's a sense of urgency to get a job description, so I guess we'll have to get moving on that. Frank, can you help us set up the time, because it will involve having our new library media person?
What, during the day or an evening meeting?
Oh, I thought it was going to be like late day, Mary Ellen. That's what we did
Anytime's
last.
fine
Oh, anytime's fine.
All right,
for me. It could be after, when he's right done after school, when you're in the building, Frank, whatever.
Tuesdays or Thursday, yep. Do you want the teacher involved
Yes, we would like the teacher involved.
for at least one meeting, right? For at least one meeting?
Well, you don't think the teacher involved is going to want to?
No, I'm just asking if you're asking for what do you do so that you can put that into the descriptor, or would you like him to help with the descriptor itself?
I think the other people that we've done theirs have helped with the descriptor.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure. Okay,
Okay.
so probably
As well as
three
Sam.
I was just going to ask if it was all right if I be there also.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. We would appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I think Frank was with us last time,
Correct.
but I would understand if that isn't something that you can do with all the COVID and your time is tight right now.
If I was ever allowed to participate, I would love to as well. I mean, I have overseen SRBI, I have general ed and special ed training, and I think this 504 training that I attended yesterday and today really is looking at a seamless model to meet the needs of all kids.
Absolutely. If you would like to come, Judy, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's a lot of people to coordinate, Frank. Sorry about that. Okay, now we have CABE.
Yes, so CABE is offering virtual legislative breakfasts. And the reason I mentioned that a little while ago is because I think the question about ECS may come up. I would be very surprised if it does not come up in the discussion with the legislators. So I would encourage anybody who's available to the virtual legislative breakfast, so you don't have to warm up your car early. Just log on and be there when the legislators talk and have a chance to ask questions virtually. They're also doing workshops and, events and the board chair roundtables. I think, Rose, you've been participating in those where you work
Sometimes.
for.
Yeah.
So kind of full speed ahead in terms of addressing pandemic needs and supporting districts during this unusual time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's going to be a day on the Hill, a virtual day on the Hill. I can't give you details because it's the first time we've, that's been done. But just so you know that the plan is to go ahead with it.
Okay, great. Thanks. And EastCon, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, we had our monthly meeting last night, and like all districts, attendance is down in programs, but the projected revenue will cover expenses. And administrators have been notified of free PD that's continued to be offered to school districts. That's about all, I think.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we're on to additions to the agenda. I don't have any. Does anyone else have any?
It just occurred to me, something just occurred to me, which is if people don't know, I think probably everybody does know, but if people don't know that the Connecticut Commissioner of Education is a candidate for a federal Secretary of Education.
He's in the nominee.
He's the nominee, that's right,
Yeah,
which is a very big deal. But so Connecticut will be looking for a replacement for him if it all goes as planned.
yeah. Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move on to audience for citizens and staff.
Could I say something, Rose?
1 second. Yes, Dana, go ahead.
Just to follow up on what I think Juan might have said for communications. Parashul has done a really good job when they were in session, actually there, apprising us of the things the students are doing. We don't get anything from the school. I would like to thank Linda Sanchini for sending the Gazette, the students writing letters, poetry this month, and a drawing. Kids like to see themselves in print, so do their parents. But I'd like to just say, you know, you just lost a kindergarten teacher who'd been here 20 years. I wrote something for her. She deserves it in the paper. Sue Askew, how long was she here? 40 years? That was me who figured out what to write, you know, for her. Wendy Timberman was here 25 years, maybe, a citizen in town. 20 years, she lives in town too. To be in the pay. Debbie Levins, 35, 40 years, nothing. I mean, these people deserve recognition in the town newspaper for serving our kids for all these years. And I really don't think I'm the one who's supposed to be doing it. I really don't. I do my best, but it isn't easy for me to figure out how to write nice things about people that, well, I haven't had contact with for 15 years anyway. But it's got to be done because it's the right thing to do. But I would think that something like that should be coming out of your communications committee too. So thanks.
Thank you. Kathy Donahue?
Yep. I'd like a copy of the document that got sent to the board on staffing and also the staffing schedules for the specials this year, since in Frank's report, we're talking about those remaining the same. I also want to address the ECS comments. Although the budget for the state isn't put together, we're still in that 10-year phase in period of the change to the formulas, which was adopted by the state legislature in 2017. So we're scheduled for another $53,195 cut in that each year of that 10-year period. And last year we had a little bit more of a cut of the previous year, which was $55,596 was the recommendation of Lamont. In the 2020 year. So that part of it, as far as I know, hasn't changed, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. And I haven't heard anything back from the state as far as freezing that at this point in time. So maybe at the legislative breakfast. And my question for Ian was, when is the legislative breakfast? What date was that?
I believe it's February 4th at 8 o'clock and registration is online.
Okay, thank you.
And the budgetary issues that you're describing, I don't know, can I respond to that?
Well, this really isn't the purpose of Audience for Citizens.
Okay.
Rose.
Yes, Juan?
Juan Arriola. First, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Santini for getting that grant. I got it in Hartford when I applied for it, and it's really, really great. The kids should really enjoy it. And I also want to say thank you to Mrs. Milton and her class for writing to me and continuing to write. I in the process of responding to them my third time, and it's been I've gotten to know them through our exchange of communications. And lastly, the new hire. There's nothing against her, as she's well qualified, but I think in the times that we've been facing, that the issue of diversity and the issue of minority representation, and I'm sure in Connecticut, there must be one qualified minority teacher who would like to come and teach in Hampton. Like, we have a history of not having any diversity in that school. And I'm like, I'm just like, I'm overwhelmed by that. And I'm ashamed of it. I'm ashamed to be representing and not be able to hire one teacher. So I just want to say I'm disappointed that we can't find one minority person in the whole state of Connecticut that would apply if they were aware that we are looking for teachers. Because I would like, because what I'm going to do is next time I'm going to invite minority kids who have gone to Hampton Elementary, and they can express to you guys how it feels to be in a school where there's nobody of color they can even look up to. So with that said, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My computer just lost the screen, so if someone wants to talk, they'll have to say something because I can't see anything. Okay, are there any further comments?
Yes, I was going to say, if that's okay.
Please do, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there were some COVID relief funds, and I think Sally mentioned that we're anticipating some more reimbursement for COVID related expenses, so that may offset some of the other cuts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rosalinda would like to add something too.
Thank you. Linda, I'm sorry, my screen went, so what would you like to say?
Oh, you're still on mute, Linda. There we go.
I wanted to say that the playground was always, the playscape ideas were always all the teams. I was, I guess, the quickest to get them to you. So, but they all are part of it and have been talking about the playscape. And then I also want to say thank you for the idea that I had something to do with the grant, but actually that was Ms. Roberson. It came out, we read it, and then because myself and Chris Milton, because it's a 4-5, we're kind of both in it. It just happened to come to my name. I don't know why. So I just wanted you to know that Sam really was integral, if not all of it, to get it to us. And I'm sure it will be a really fun one. So that's all. Thanks and good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, Rose, Al Cahill.
Hi,
Good evening. Tuesday, the governor extended all his executive orders through the end of April regarding COVID and governance. So how that's going to affect the budgetary process, I'm not quite sure. I've tried to inquire through NECOG. When I do have an answer for that, I'll make sure everyone knows. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing communication from the board's attorney. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, I heard
And
several people.
did you want to invite,
Frank.
Rose, did you anticipate
Frank,
okay, I'll move to
I'd like to be invited
enter
also. Thank you.
executive session.
okay, my understanding,
For the
Alan,
purpose
is
of-
you don't need an invitation because you're ex officio?
Yes,
Okay,
I
I'm
just didn't
sorry.
want to get blotted
I'm-
out, not hosted.
I'm sorry, Mary Ellen, what did you want to say?
Okay, so I move to enter executive session for the purpose of discussion of a communication from the board's attorney and invite Dr. Ola.
Do we have a second?
Second. Anne.
Okay, I will have to call the roll again. Russ,
Let's say it again.
Yes.
thank you. Neil,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Mary Ellen,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
and Matthew?
Yes.
All right, we are entering executive session at 8:48.
Rose, I'm going to put my head